Hello and welcome to the Dad Whisperer. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Watson. And if you've listened in before, you know that although the focus here is primarily on the dad-daughter relationship, these principles and these tools also apply to how you as dads relate to all the women in your lives, whether it's your wives, your girlfriends, your sisters, even female coworkers. And these principles also work well with your sons. Now, why is that, you might ask? It's because it's all about you as a man gaining more skills for strengthening all the relationships in your life, which leads me to my 3-word template that I use every single week to guide our conversation, which is on your mark, get set, go. So I invite you as dads to picture yourselves standing side by side each other, getting ready to run your fathering race this week. And I'm on the sidelines as your coach, cheering you on and saying, on your mark, get set, go. On your mark is the topic or the theme. Get set is filling that in with stories and stats. And go is always your practical action step so that you can put your love for your daughters and your sons into action this week. Today, I have an incredible guest coach with me who not only loves being a dad to his 18-year-old daughter, Maddie, and his 16-year-old son, Mason, but he loves being married to his wife of 23 years, Kathleen. Mike is also the pastor of family life at River West Church in Portland, Oregon, and it was only a few months ago that Mike and I finally met in person, and we were blown away that we have such similar passions and similar hearts for fathers. And here we are just miles apart in Portland. It's so awesome to have him here today because we both share in this vision for fathers to step into their callings. So to have him here today sharing his wisdom with us is a real treat because this man walks his talk. Thank you, Mike, for carving out time to join me here today. Welcome, Pastor Mike Self.
Michelle, thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Yay, I'm so glad we can finally meet in person
Yes.
and you get to share your heart because I know you've been doing this for almost a decade like me. And now you get to bring that wisdom to more people because I know your voice needs to be heard. Well, on your mark today, Mike and I have come up with this title, What a Daughter Needs from Her Dad. So now to fill that in, what does a daughter need from me, you might be asking yourself? Well, this title comes directly from a talk that Mike gave to dads of daughters at his church. And when I listened to his message, I was so excited because you guys, literally, he was saying the same things as I do many times. I was blown away. So I'm so excited, like I said, for you to get to hear his passion and his wisdom. Well, Mike, you have given surveys to over 400 women. Blows me away that you've been doing that for years. And you're going to be sharing some of what you've learned as a dad, you've learned as a pastor, and even from some of these surveys of women, aren't you?
That's the plan.
Yeah, to share with these dads some insights because you've gotten some insights from women through that survey. So, Mike, how about we start out, now that we're filling this in, the get set portion, with just me asking you, when you hear that word, that phrase, what does a dad need to give his daughter, right? It's not want. It's need. There are needs that daughters have, that we as women have, that only our dads can fill. And we're going to break that down today. So you know that the title of my book is Dad, Here's What I Really Need from You. So this is now you from your solar system spot on Mars sharing about what that means as a man, as a dad, as a pastor, to, I believe, complement what I've said over here from Venus about what daughters need. So each statement that you will be making today starts with the letter L, which I believe is going to make it good for recall. So Mike, let me start by asking you, what is the first thing that you believe a daughter needs from her dad?
Well, number one, dads must love their daughters well. Love their daughters well. And don't dismiss that as obvious. Don't assume that your daughter knows. I don't care how old she is. She must hear it from you. Now, don't rely on your wife to be the translator. And this is one of the things that came up in the surveys, and I thought this was really interesting. You know, sometimes it was the mom who had to tell the daughter that, yes, your dad really does love you. And there's nothing wrong with that. She needs to hear it from you. And the survey shared that when a girl knows that she is loved by her father, these are the words that the women told me, a daughter will feel safe, affirmed, secure, special, important, valuable, confident, proud, respected, and cherished. I mean, I love those words. Comes from a father's love. But when a girl does not know that she's loved by her father, she uses words like this to describe being fragile, lonely, insecure, invisible, and worthless.
Wow. If that doesn't tell the whole story, I don't know what does, is why it's so important. If dads ever think they're not vital to their daughter's health and well-being, what these women told you is that dad is vital, right?
Absolutely.
To
Absolutely.
who I am as a woman, as a person. So you've come up with something called the I Love You Squeeze. And as you heard me say in the intro, I love giving dads practical action steps. And I know that as dads are listening today, they're going to get lots of ideas from you. How about we start with one right out of the gate? What's the I Love You Squeeze?
This is so funny. It started when my children were still in their car seats. I'd be driving along, and I would reach back with one hand, and I would just get a little foot or a leg, and I would do 3 squeezes, and it would be I love you. And I've continued to do that my whole life with my children. And now my son, he's taller than me, my daughter's 18, I still give them the 3 squeezes. And now I don't even say I love you sometimes. They just know that the squeezes mean I love you.
Wow. I love how practical that is, because it's all about countering any sense that your kids would ever feel based on your surveys that they're, or your daughter especially, fragile, insecure. It's like, my dad sees me. I'm not invisible. I'm not worthless. My dad is affirming me and reminding me of his love. Okay, so Mike, let's keep this conversation going. You say that dads need to say other things to their daughters in addition to I love you as an expression of their love. Can you mention some of those other things that you've found are important?
And again, this is what some of the women have told me. They want these words. They need to hear these words. Number one, you are beautiful. Your daughters need to hear you say, I am proud of you. They need to hear you say, I am praying for you. And actually pray with your kids. That's really important too.
Right, not just praying for you, but with you.
With them, yes. And this is a big one, just being able to say, I'm sorry. You know, we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to blow it. But to come back and say, I'm sorry, that covers over a lot.
You're right.
And I don't think I really heard my parents apologize until I was in college. When I got that first I'm sorry from my dad, it was huge. It was huge.
You've never forgotten it.
I have not forgotten it.
So
No.
you would challenge dads to maybe this week, that's your action step, men.
Yeah.
Is to say, one time when I know I've blown it, I've hurt my daughter or my son, I'm going to step up and ask forgiveness and say, I'm sorry.
Makes a huge difference.
Love it. Well, obviously, we could talk for hours here, but I'm going to hone this in and ask if you could just briefly share, maybe you've mentioned this survey that you gave to 400 women. Could you just talk a little bit more about what you heard them say about what a dad's love looks like in action?
Well, obviously, they need to hear the words, I love you, but also it's your physical affection, appropriate physical affection. And it should never stop. Those hugs, those kisses on the cheek, the kisses on the forehead. Even as they get older, sometimes when our girls start to develop, dads pull back and they think, oh, maybe my daughter doesn't want a hug. She wants a hug. She needs that hug. And she will think something's wrong with her if you start refraining, if you start pulling back any of that love, that physical affection. So that's really important. Also, this came up repeatedly in the surveys. They need dads who are willing to listen about every aspect of their life. And if I'm honest, I struggle with that. I think just the way I'm wired, I'm just kind of going. My mind's always moving. And to sit still, to actively listen, sometimes it's hard, but it pays off. It's so, so very important. And it's taking an interest in the things that your daughter is interested in. Spending one-on-one time is so important. You're planning a date, letting them pick what you're going to do, but spending that one-on-one time together. And I realized just for me and my family, I think we've done a great job with family time. But as my daughter's gotten older and she's driving, she has her friends, she has a boyfriend, it's become a little harder to find out a good time for just the two of us to spend time together.
And I hear that a lot from so many dads, especially of teenage daughters, right? Busier. And they feel a bit shut out sometimes or not like a priority. And I find dads get their feelings hurt. It's like, well, I guess she doesn't really want to be with me. But you would say to dads, press in anyway. Push past the resistance. Keep going. Great insight, Mike. Okay, now let's keep moving. What is the second thing that a daughter needs from her dad?
Well, dads must lead well. They must love well, and they must lead well. But what's really interesting, if you look at the Bible, there's not a lot of specific direction to dads. But there is one where the Bible points out, this is Colossians chapter 3, verse 21, do not provoke your children to wrath or anger. And the Message translation says, don't come down hard on your kids. And that's a problem. I think sometimes we don't want it, but we've got a dad tone. We have volume that sometimes we're louder than we need to be. So I think we have to keep all of that in check.
One of the things that I've loved hearing you say, Mike, is that no one should treat our daughters better than us. Like you've said, as dads, we set the tone, literally and figuratively, in how we talk. That's so powerful. Tell the story that I heard you say about the snow day once.
This actually broke my heart. This is back in February when we had that snowy weather, and my daughter was at a friend's house, and I was getting a little worried about the conditions of the road. The snow is coming down, and we live on a high hill, and the city actually will close that street when the snow gets bad. And so I called my daughter, just thinking, all right, it's time to come home. And I thought I said it very lovingly, Maddie, come on home. I think it's time. There was something in my voice. There was a tone or something that I did not know was there, and it really upset her. She thought I was mad at her, and that crushed me. So I wasn't mad. I was just worried about her safety. But she came home, and we had to talk about that, and I had to apologize. It was my dad tone. I didn't even know that it was there.
Your dad tone.
My dad tone.
Yeah, you and most men, because that's, again, on this side of it, what I hear from so many women. And men are saying, you want to hear anger. That wasn't anger. That wasn't mean. That wasn't harsh. But you're pacing with your daughter's needs by calming yourself down, asking forgiveness, and saying, okay, even if I don't think I came across that way, if that's how you heard me, I need to make amends.
Absolutely. That was the chance for me to apologize right then.
And I love that you're including this, Mike, under leading well. This is how a dad leads well. Well, how about if I ask you then this follow-up question? Because a lot of dads, I have found this over the last decade of walking with fathers, is that if they're at work and they see they're succeeding there and they can use their skill set there, but they feel they're bombing at home or, quote, getting in trouble because they say it wrong or have the wrong tone, what would you tell a dad to do if what he's doing at home isn't working, and so he's spending less of his time and his focus there? I mean, does any of that line up with what you've witnessed with the men you've walked alongside these last couple decades?
Yeah, this is really unfortunate. And again, this came up in the surveys too from the women. Repeatedly, these women were saying when they were growing up, they were seeing their dads give their best outside the house, and they were getting the leftovers. And understand that you go where, there's the promotion, you're getting the pats on the back, people are cheering you on. A lot of people are not cheering you on as a dad. It's natural to just, give others your best, and your family gets the leftovers. And there's a real danger in that.
Exactly. Well, something you believe, Mike, is vitally important when it comes to dads leading is that of spiritual leadership. What is a way that you would encourage a dad to spiritually lead his daughter if maybe that isn't his forte?
Well, here's my favorite verse as it relates to fathering, and it's not something that, this is from 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 1 through 4. Peter's not talking to dads specifically. He's talking to elders, but the imagery is, you need to be a shepherd of your flock. And so I love looking at my role as a dad, as a husband, as I'm a shepherd of my family. And if you think about what a shepherd does, a shepherd leads, protects, comforts, corrects, provides. So that is my model for how I want to treat my children, how I want to treat my wife.
And give specifics. What does that look like? Spiritual leadership.
Well, honestly, it's looked at a couple different ways in us and in our family. One of the things we do a yearly verse, and I know some people do a weekly verse. If you're doing that, more power to you. But
meaning that like everyone learns the same verse,
yes, and there's one verse like we right now. It's Philippians 1:27. Whatever happens, conduct yourself in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ. And so we'll introduce that in kind of a fun way. The four of us memorize that, and then we use that for teachable moments throughout the whole year. We'll just kind of bring it back to that verse, and we can do that as it relates to school, friendships, athletics. That's a great verse. It covers a lot of territory, but that's our theme verse, for the year. So we've done things like that. The idea of praying together. We always pray together at meals, praying before our kids go to school in the morning. I think that's really important, sitting them out. My wife is great about that. And we've done different devotionals, and that's morphed too, just as our kids have gotten older. And to the point now, and this is one of the things we do, and I wish we did it with greater consistency, but we each take turns. So it's not just me as the dad. My kids now, they're responsible for leading a weekly devotional, what they're seeing.
And when do you do the devotionals?
Usually over dinner.
Okay,
and
at
we
dinner.
work really hard to have dinner as a family. Sometimes that means we're not eating dinner until 9 o'clock at night, just given sports schedules and everything else.
Right.
But just hold that time is really sacred.
So even if it's the end of the day, you're all tired, I love hearing you say that part of leading well as a dad is encouraging your kids to still meet as a family, even if it's 9 at night, for dinner, and to include some kind of a spiritual tone or element to the conversation. I love that because it's practical. Okay, well, let's keep moving on. What's the third thing that you would say a daughter needs from her dad?
This is really big, and this is kind of all-encompassing, but our daughters need us to live well. We have to live well, love well, lead well, and live well. And, simply put, and it doesn't matter if you think this is fair or not, but our daughters are forming an opinion of God based on their opinion of us.
Right.
And I know some women, they cringe when they hear us refer to the Lord as our Heavenly Father, because that carries so much baggage. And I think that's really hard. But I think it's really important that we are being that dad, to our daughters, and how we are living and modeling, a wonderful life for our daughters.
Well, like that quote, more is caught than taught.
Mm.
So, right, you're like it's all about living. And if you're just joining us, I'm talking with Pastor Mike Self, Family Life Pastor at River West Church, and he's sharing insights from his own life and from leading men for the past couple decades, where he's helping us understand today what a daughter needs from her dad. So let me ask you, Mike, so you gave 400 surveys out to women. Is there anything that they had to say that you could share today of what it looks like for a dad to model what living well actually looks like to them?
Yeah, well, I can give you 5 things. These are kind of some just general themes that kept showing up in the surveys. And probably most importantly, number 1 was, in order to live well, it means loving your daughter's mom well. That's so important. Even if it's a divorce situation, it's still treating your ex with respect and kindness, and you want to honor that person. But that's how you're modeling how a woman should be treated by a man. And they're picking up on it, So my daughters witness how my wife and I, how we overcome challenges or obstacles or, disagreements. My daughter has seen how we are affectionate towards one another, hugging right there in the kitchen, and they laugh. My kids laugh, when they were younger, but they love that. So it's how you love your daughter's mom is huge, and how they're treated. And it's a real gift I think we give to our kids.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. What else?
Well, the other 2, we kind of mentioned this before too, but it's bringing your best to your family. Too many girls see their dads give their best to their jobs, hobbies, sports teams, etc., and then they get the leftovers. So this is what you need to think about. Like, where do your daughters see you come most alive? Is it with your, when you're with them, or is it when you're, watching one of the performances or sporting events? I mean, I hope that's when your daughter would see that. Or is it when you're headed out the door, all right, to hang with your friends, you go to a Blazer game or spend the day golfing? Where do you become most alive? And the third thing too, and this is funny because it came up in the surveys a couple different times, your daughter, they value your sense of humor.
Wow.
Don't turn it off when you come home.
That surprises me that would have been a theme, but I think it's really powerful to emphasize that.
Well, what happened was these girls or these women were saying when they were younger that they would always hear how their dad was the life of a party, so fun to be around, but that was not the same dad that she was experiencing at home. And so there's a disconnect. Bring your best home with you. And also, you have to manage your anger. That's really important. Some women grew up really in fear of their dads. They're walking on eggshells, not knowing what was going to send them over the edge. So, kids feel too unsettled if we're not managing our anger. And really the fifth thing, the last thing I would say is share your life with your kids. Share your stories, your failures, your successes. There's security in knowing who you are, and where you've been. And of course, they're part of your story.
Right.
So they need to know that.
I've even done something with my dad where we used to have this Monday night tradition of going to Costco and going grocery shopping, and always on the ride home in the car, I would say, "Dad, tell me a story from your childhood." So it'd be like that. 10 minutes. And he oftentimes would go, "I don't have any more. I don't know." I go, "Tell me the same one over then."
My kids do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Because it's part of our story too and our history. So today, Mike, you've highlighted that a daughter needs from her dad him to love her well, to lead her well, and now you said to live well. Anything else? Since we're on this roll with the L's, I think you have one more in you, don't you?
I have one more L.
Okay.
And really, all these things, they add up to really, it's your legacy. That's my big L word, it's your legacy. What will your legacy as a father be? And it's so important that, you got to be in it to win it. There's no more important job you'll ever have than being a dad. So how you're investing in your kids now, it will pay off now, but also for the future. There's really two sobering questions, I always want dads to consider. Number one is, how would your daughter respond to a survey about your fatherhood? That could be a
Okay, so
little
say that
daunting.
again.
How would your daughter respond to a survey about your fatherhood?
So about you as a father, you have to
Yeah.
say, how would my daughter be filling out a survey about me?
Well, and after I had all these women fill out this survey, I thought, you know what? I need to have my daughter do the same thing. And I was almost nervous to give it to her.
That is courageous.
It was humbling, but I learned in that, and that was great. And the other question I think about this too is, what will your daughter tell her husband about how you have loved her? You're her first love as her dad.
Yeah.
What is she going to tell this new man in her life, right? The next lover of her soul and her heart. How is she going to describe the love you had for her?
Right. So, Mike, what would you tell a dad that maybe doesn't have access to a survey or your survey? Maybe he doesn't feel like he's in a time of his life with his daughter where he wants to ask her how he could love her better so he can prepare her to be married. Is there any question that you would encourage a dad to ask his daughter right now? Let's, again, practical action steps to say, I wonder what kind of a legacy I'm leaving with you, and I want to do a check-in right now, whatever age you are.
This is really simple. I mean, you can just really ask and just say, to your daughter, how can I improve as a dad? Just how can I improve as a dad?
Okay, you've worked with men for years. I've walked alongside men for years. I've never heard a dad ask that question unless it was an assignment. Have you? That on his own, he's gone to his kids and said, can you rate me as a dad? Either give me a score like a grade at school or a score on a 0 to 10.
Well, I think most of us were kind of scared. We're afraid what the answer might be. So you have to swallow your pride. And this is not your time to push back. You just listen.
Yeah.
And when I first asked my daughter that, it was years ago, and I've asked her a couple different times, her first response was, no, Dad, you're a great dad. You're a great dad. I was like, well, Maddie, I'm not a perfect dad. How can I be a better dad?
How can I improve?
And she's like, well, I'll come up with a list. And she did. She's a list maker, and she came up with some specific things. And I realized, yes, there's some things I could do to improve as a dad. And I had actually heard her in a couple ways that I was not aware of.
Yeah.
And so we had that time to really have a dialogue about that.
And I always say, your daughter didn't come with a playbook, but you're going to write one. And so when your daughter wrote that list, she would say, Dad, here's my playbook. Now you don't have to wonder what I need. I'm telling you what I need.
Absolutely.
Well, Mike, I end every show with a go step, and you've given lots of practical ideas today. But I wonder if, as we just get ready to land the plane, if I could ask you to speak to the dad that's saying, I need to kick it up a notch with my daughter. What would you say to that dad, based on what you've said today, that would help him dial in more specifically to his daughter's heart?
Well, we have that question, how can I be a better dad? But this is another one. You could even ask, is there any way that I've hurt you? And that's a sobering question too. Because we're broken, fallen people, and that's a great question to ask.
Yeah.
But you have to own it too. Again,
Yes.
not the time to push back. And also, I just say one more thing too is just as you're hearing this, maybe there's something you need to apologize for. It's never too late.
It's never too late.
And it will speak volumes of speaking love to your daughter. Just to say, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to do that.
Oh, I love that you're encouraging dads to step up to the plate in that way, because that is about loving well, leading well, living well. And I heard of one dad, Mike, who at the end of every day when he would tuck his daughter into bed, he would say, how has Daddy hurt you today? How have I? He made amends every single day so that they didn't build up.
Yeah.
Isn't that powerful?
Oh, that's really powerful.
I love that you're saying it's kind of this twofold question that you would encourage dads to ask is, how can I be a better dad to you, or how can I improve, and where have I hurt you? My goodness, these are packed truths today. Well, what I love about all of this, Mike, is that you're saying it's never too late as a dad to dial into your daughter's heart. And Mike, I truly believe, as I know you do with me, that if dads take the action step and put this kind of love into motion, they're going to see that their daughters are going to thrive and soar even more, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Well, today on Your Mark has been what a daughter needs from her dad. You've heard from my friend, Pastor Mike South. So between today and next week, dads, I encourage you to put into action the things that you've heard him say, which might include doing the love squeeze with your kids. I love you, the 3 squeezes on their foot or their ankle or their shoulder. Well, as always, you can go to my website at drmichellewatson.com and find free resources. You can sign up for my bi-monthly Dad Daughter Friday blogs. There's also a link to Amazon where you can find my book, Dad, Here's What I Really Need From You, a guide for connecting with your daughter's heart, and it's also available on Audible. And remember, you can subscribe to the Dad Whisperer podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play. So this wraps up another week's program. It's been so great to be with you all. I'm Dr. Michelle Watson, the Dad Whisperer, signing off and encouraging you to make today a day where you are intentionally and consistently investing in pursuing your daughter's hearts. Go Dads.